Welcome back. Let's go straight to my next guest. He's the political editor at The Sun, Jack Elsom. Welcome, Jack.
Good afternoon, Kev.
Now, you've been monitoring Nigel Farage's barnstorming speech there. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's talk about today's high drama, in fact, the high drama of the last 24 hours. I think it's something very strange we're witnessing right here. I mean, yesterday, the Prime Minister had to lose his right-hand man with whom he was virtually joined at the hip, Morgan McSweeney. Today he's lost his communications chief, Tim Allen. So his inner circle is being dismantled. And it strikes me that is at the demand, at the request of the backbenchers, who don't like the way he's been running the Downing Street operation. So he's doing what they're telling him and getting rid of all his supporters, his acolytes, his inner circle, the people who support him, his support system. So ironically, as he battles to survive, it seems to me he's destroying his chances of surviving.
Well, the wheels are totally coming off, Kev. There's no denying that. Clearly, the backbenchers now feel totally emboldened by what they see as a weak, lame duck prime minister. They have been calling the shots for a while now. You think right back to that welfare rebellion last summer, where they forced Keir Starmer to come back from the ledge. Ever since then, what we've seen is a more muscular parliamentary Labour Party and power flowing from number 10 Downing Street onto the backbenchers. And this is just the latest culmination of that. The backbenchers made clear, many of them anyway, that they didn't like Morgan McSweeney. They felt like he centralised control in number 10. They felt like they had been frozen out of decision-making. He was therefore the lightning rod for many issues, but especially the Peter Mandelson scandal. And he's had to take the fall for it. Now, the question on everybody's lips in Westminster today is, how can the person who advised the Prime Minister on the Peter Mandelson scandal have to lose his job, but the person who actually decided to appoint Peter Mandelson, aka the Prime Minister, stay in his job? And if I'm honest, it doesn't look like he's that secure in his position.
Exactly right. I mean, Morgan McSweeney, in a bid to protect Starmer, a desperate bid to protect him, said, I take full responsibility for the wrong decision to appoint Peter Mandelson as our ambassador in Washington. Well, Morgan, nice move, but you can't take full responsibility because the full responsibility for that decision was not yours. The full responsibility for that decision was the Prime Minister's. Therefore, it's down to Starmer. It's not down to McSweeney. As you say, McSweeney's gone to try and save Starmer, but the problem remains. Starmer appointed Peter Mandelson in the full knowledge that this guy had continued his friendship, his close friendship, with Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted paedophile American billionaire. And that must surely do for the Prime Minister. Whilst he's got that on his CV, he can't remain in position, can he?
Well, I think, Kev, that even for a very strong leader who is popular with their party and the country, the Mandelson scandal, even in isolation, will be too much to weather. But Starmer is neither of those things. He is the most unpopular Prime Minister on record. And also, he has shotted authority with his own party. I mean, if you just look at his past 18 months, we've had U-turns galore. We've had all manner of ministerial scandals. We've had an economy on its knees. The Labour backbenchers have been unhappy. And so clearly he's burnt through any crumbs of political capital he's already had after that election. So it's already a febrile state. Then you have the Mandelson scandal. Now, even if he can ride out this week, we've had a sort of a painfully forced rallying round by the cabinet in the last hour or so. Even if he can get through the next few days, just look at the pitfalls he's got ahead. He's got a very dangerous by-election up in Manchester, in which he stopped Andy Burnham from running, someone that probably could have won that by-election. It now looks like Labour could be pushed into third by the Greens and Reform. You then have this massive treasure trove of documents and texts and emails exchanged by Mandelson and key figures in number 10. That's going to be coming out in the next few weeks. You have the May local elections, which looks like it's going to be an absolute bloodbath for Labour. any one of these things could be the straw that breaks the camel's back and brings the curtain down on Keir Starmer's premiership.
Absolutely, and all of a sudden, so after McSweeney quit yesterday, in fact, all the way through the weekend leading up to McSweeney's shock resignation, and then afterwards, there's been this absolute ominous silence from his front benchers, from the cabinet. All we got through Friday and Saturday was through friends, both David Lammy and Angela Rayner, saying, we told Starmer, don't give that job to Peter Mandelson. We advised him not to do this, but he didn't listen to us. That's all we heard from the entire cabinet. And then all of a sudden today, around about 2:30 p.m, 2:30 in the afternoon, 2.5 hours ago or so, they started tweeting about every 2 minutes. You know, first it was Reeves, then it was Yvette Cooper, then it was Chris Reed, then it was Angela Rayner, then David Lammy. What minute by minute by minute, these effusive tweets of support. We still haven't, though, significantly. It strikes me, you tell me what you think, Jack, but it strikes me that was a 3-line whip. They were all ordered to do it because they hadn't done it beforehand. And it's interesting that neither Shabana Mahmood nor Ed Miliband, and indeed several others on the cabinet, have yet to tweet.
Well, I think in the past 20 minutes or so, they all have now. He's got the full House of cabinet.
The full House, has he now?
The full House have come out, and because you know, the Downing Street operation can spring into action at times of crisis, and clearly have sent a clarion call round to Keir Starmer's top team, saying that you need to come out in support of the Prime Minister. At that point, what it usually is an exercise in smoking out any potential rivals. So it's not actually a question of who does come out and say they are supporting Keir Starmer, but who doesn't. And therefore, the pressure on potential leadership candidates to come out is enormous. Two things I would say to this. Clearly, they have felt very, very vulnerable after Anas Sarwar came out and called for Keir Starmer to resign. You know, in terms of the public calls for Keir Starmer to go, it's really been confined so far to a few of sort of the usual left-wing suspects, although privately many more are saying to me that this is terminal for him. But also, you know, for a prime minister now to be in this vulnerable position, I think really speaks to a sort of inevitability feeling in Westminster here. I think the only thing really saving him at the moment is that lack of viable candidates to replace him. And that's probably why you saw people like Angela Rayner, West Streeting coming out, because they're not yet ready to pull the trigger.
Angela Rayner needs to sort out her stamp duty problems. As soon as she's got those sorted out, I don't think we'll be getting any tweets of support from Ms Rayner. We've just seen Nigel Farage making his barnstorming speech to the Reform faithful at the Reform rally at the NEC in Birmingham. They say that the best trait for a politician to have is good luck, good fortune. Nigel Farage has it in spades, doesn't he? I mean, this was arranged many months ago, this rally, but for him, it couldn't have come at a better time with the Prime Minister teetering on the edge. That speech he made was pretty impressive just now, wasn't it?
Well, you say that, although maybe he wanted a clear run at the papers tomorrow, because you know, I can imagine that the Starmer scandal is going to be dominating many of them rather than Nigel Farage's speech. But listen, you know, what's bad for Starmer is good for the opposition, and that remains to be true. And so clearly there are going to be bruises to be punched, and you don't get sort of a better bruise puncher in Westminster than Nigel Farage. He's clearly very effective prosecuting the argument. I'd say so is Kemi Badenoch. I think she's been doing a fairly good job of that recently.
I agree.
But in terms of that pulling power and that sort of box office, you know, rock and roll politics, clearly Nigel Farage has cornered the market in pyrotechnics and big studios and pulling in the punters and the rest of it.
Exactly right. Very quickly, Jack, 'cause we're going to go to break, but we're still in a situation, it seems to me, in terms of Starmer's duration at number 10 Downing Street. It's a question not of if, it's when, isn't it?
There is a growing feeling that that is the case, because with all these scandals aside, all you have to do is just look at the numbers. I mean, the polling is just dire. You know, so soon after that landslide majority, it is just taking a tumble so quickly. And, you know, in politics, the numbers don't lie.
He hasn't got long for this world, if you ask me. Good to talk to you, Jack. Excellent stuff. Stay tuned. Lots still to come.